like to welcome you to this presentation of Plymouth Profiles. This is an opportunity for us to meet with people from the greater Plymouth area. And today I'm delighted to meet with someone that I've known very well, Candis Parry. Candi.
Hi,
welcome.
good to see you, Steve.
Candi, nice to have you here. So Candi, for people that might not have met you before, that are watching this presentation, tell us a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school?
Okay, I grew up in the Philadelphia area. I went to Ursinus College, which is a small D3 school outside Philadelphia. And then I went to grad school at Ithaca. And then I moved to the Midwest. And then we retired here to Plymouth.
Good. Wonderful. And we talked a little bit off camera. What are some of the activities you did when you were in school?
I played field hockey, basketball, lacrosse. I was on the equestrian team as a cheerleader. And I worked in the union and on the union programming board, class officer.
Yeah, very nice. And so after you graduated from school, what did you do? What was your career?
I coached lacrosse, Division I, Brown, Major League Brown, and then Ithaca, Dickinson, in the Midwest, Earlham, DePaul. So I've been a teacher / coach and umpire for field hockey and lacrosse for 40 years.
Wow. And you moved to the different schools?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I attended Gettysburg. We played at Dickinson in field hockey and other sports as well. So I know that area well in that particular league. So now you've retired to Plymouth. What are you doing in Plymouth?
I'm a realtor for Keller Williams.
Okay.
So that's always been a passion of mine. And I was licensed in Rhode Island and Indiana, but didn't practice that much until I retired here.
Tell us a little bit about Keller Williams. What is that?
Keller Williams is an amazing real estate company. We're number one in the world as far as, number of agents. We have 180,000, I think, agents, and we're in like 60 foreign countries and every state. So it's a huge network of quality individuals. The culture is amazing.
And how about here in Plymouth? Are there a couple realtors in the office?
Oh, yeah. So we are the combined office, Plymouth and Centerville. We have 184 agents.
Okay. And we're taping this in June of 2026. How's the market locally?
Oh, so the market, we're in a bit of a shift, right? For the COVID years, people would say, I want to sell my house. They were like, okay, what do you want for it? And they would put a number on it and it would sell. And now we're having a little bit of a correction of, it has to appraise for that. It has to be worth that. And the buyers have to see the value in that. So we're in a bit of a shift, but it's still a strong seller's market. I think we're 70% of, sellers are getting what they want. So it's a good time, but, it's never going to be a better time to buy because we're historically low on interest rates. The kids that have been looking for the last 3 years are like, we want the 3% interest rate. Well, we're saying the 3% only occurred because the Fed was at zero. And we better hope the Fed doesn't get back to zero. We have bigger problems. So, if you're paying 6% now or 6.5%, that's historically low over the last 100 years. So it's a good time always.
So I have a client who recently inherited some funds, and she's decided to leave this area and go south because she can get a lot more house, a lot cheaper for low 300s. But, in Plymouth, in the Plymouth area, it's considerably more even for first-time home buyers.
It is. It's a very tough time for first-time home buyers for sure. What I can say, there's usually a way to make it work, but you have to have some creative financing. Sometimes you have to have some family help, right? Or you go in on it with someone else. There's a lot of people that, they all want their own space, but maybe the answer is you buy something with someone and, let that appreciate for 10 or so years, and then you split up and do your own thing. But, I was one of the original house hackers in the 70s. I bought a house in Providence that it was a real stretch for me. So I bought the house, but I had 2 roommates. So, one was helping pay the mortgage, one was helping pay the utilities, and one was helping pay the repairs. And so collectively, 3 of us held that house together.
That's creative, as you would say.
Yes.
So when you're not being a realtor, I know you've been involved in some other activities in the community. So tell us about that.
So I'm active with Church of the Pilgrimage, and I'm on the missions committee there. I have a giving heart as far as that goes. So we're working with the Peace Abbey right now, And it's a group of individuals from the Church of the Pilgrimage. It's not supported by the church themselves, but we're trying to help immigrant families and people that need some financial support.
I've interviewed the Peace Abbey before, the representative that's here, but for people that don't know, tell us, what's the Peace Abbey?
Louis Ronda is the guy in charge, and basically anybody who needs anything can go to Louis and look for help. So he helps families setting up, whether it's somebody who's unhomed or immigrants, if they need furniture for their house. He helps collect that. So sometimes I'm cleaning out a house and I'll say, Louis, I'll take pictures. I'll say, I have this and this and this. What would you like? He goes, I'll take that and that and that. I don't need that, right? So it's a way that, we're saving things from the landfill. We're helping someone get set up, and we're helping them financially. So right now we've been helping a family where the husband was detained, and the woman has 2 children and is pregnant with her 3rd. She works part-time, but he would watch the kids while she worked. So we're trying to sort of fill the void. He has since, I believe, been released. So, but, we're trying to help with rent and utilities in that void.
So tell us a little bit about exactly how that came about, where the husband was retained. I mean, we see a lot in the national news, but a lot of people think, well, it doesn't affect me. I'm in Plymouth.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect us.
So it definitely affects us. I can say one time I was down by the car wash in Cedarville, and 2 ice trucks rolled in and they scooped up some workers and took, no questions, just took them off the street. Same in North Plymouth. They scooped some people right off the street. In this situation, I believe he's here legally and following all the guidelines, but he went in for what they called an ICE checkup.
Okay.
So I don't know what.
So for proper reasons.
So yeah. So
he was doing what he was asked to do.
Correct. So he went in for this checkup, and they took him and detained him, and then I believe they moved him to Rhode Island or something. But
what does that do to a family when that happens?
So it's devastating, right? Because he's the sole breadwinner. Like, she's working part-time, but really he's the one holding that family afloat. So you can imagine, I have to say, I feel like people don't understand that many Americans are 2 or 3 months away from being in that situation themselves. Like, I was thinking, if the grid goes down, like right now, I auto-pay stuff online, right? The grid goes down and my payments don't go. Then somebody knocks on the door and says, hey, you haven't paid your stuff. I said, I can't. Doesn't matter. You're out. I mean, any of us could be in that situation. So it's very scary. And, they're in situations where they're too young to be in school. So it's not like she can throw the 2 kids in school and go to work somewhere, full time. She's really in a bind.
And so the group that is helping this family, adopted this family, so to speak.
Yes.
What is the group?
It's a social action committee. Okay. And it's a sort of a spur off of Together We Can, and just trying to help people in need.
And what is Together We Can, just for people who don't know?
That's a group that helps immigrants and people in need. I feel like yesterday, this is just unbelievable to me, but I was driving by and I saw a gentleman digging through the trash can by 7-Eleven. Mm-hmm. And he was looking for cans. He was looking for some way to make a buck, to get something to eat, right? So those people are out there, and for all different reasons. And whether they're Americans or they're immigrants, it's a terrible situation that we're in, that I feel like, united we stand, divided we fall. If we are not helping the least of those among us, we're as strong as the weakest link. And if we're not willing to step up and help others in need, it says something about the fiber of our country.
So if someone is watching this and wanted to help in some way, either the Social Action Committee or maybe the Peace Abbey,
yes,
how would they contact you or somebody?
Oh, well, Louis Randa is the contact. I could say that, we host Monday meals at our church, and that's
Church of the Pilgrimage.
Church of the Pilgrimage. So it's for unhomed people or people who just are food scarcity, right? So they may show up and just have a meal, hang out with others. And during COVID, we were not allowed to serve out of the church. So we would make bagged lunches and put them on the ramp by our church, and people would come and pick them up. And I was helping supply water at the time, and so I was dropping my water off. And there was a woman there, a Plymouthian, and she had like 5 bags in her hand. And she grabbed my arm, and she said, "Oh, honey," she said, "your church saved me during COVID." She goes, "Don't think I'm being greedy." She goes, "I take these bags, and I'm going to cry. These 5 bags are my food for the week." And there's just a lot of that out there, more than we know.
Yeah.
So we try to, help that as we can.
So is there a number people could call or an email they could do if they wanted to help in some way?
I have to look them up.
Okay. Well, we're here with Candis Parry, and she's talking about the Social Action Committee and her work with the Peace Abbey. And Candy is a local realtor, and Candy's now going to give us some contact information.
Yes. So Louis Randa's number is 508-259-8508, and his email is Lewis, Lewis, Randa, RANDA, @gmail.com.
Now,
he is unbelievable at what he has done.
And is the Social Action Committee doing anything else besides adopting a family?
Well, we're Together We Can is connected with some of the people from the Social Action Committee, and they tell us their need. So it might be driving a child to soccer practice. It might be helping someone learn English. It might be, helping a mother who doesn't have a car get to work. So we sort of look to them for guidance. They tell us what they need, and we try to put it out there to the folks to see who can fill that need.
I heard one teacher, I happened to be driving me to the airport, tell me that one of her students was going to be leaving and going back to Brazil because the family was worried that the child might come home from school and the parents wouldn't be there. And rather than have that possibility of being detained without a place for the children, they just decided to leave Plymouth. And it's hard to believe. It is hard to.
It's hard to believe it's happening in 2026, for sure. I think, I just had a cab driver in Vegas, and he was from Brazil. And I said, "How long have you been driving a cab?" He said, 13 years. And he came from Brazil. And I said, "Did you come with your family?" He said, "No, my entire family was murdered. And as they were shooting my family in the front of the house, my neighbor took me out the back."
Wow.
And he said, "Your country absolutely saved my life."
Yeah. Yeah, people don't realize a lot of violence in a lot of these other countries from where the immigrants are coming.
Right.
So you mentioned on the church you serve on a mission committee.
Yes.
And I happen to know that there's another activity in which you've been very involved, involving cows.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Heifer. So heifer is near and dear to my heart. Rosalie Sin brought it to the Church of the Pilgrimage years ago, and it's where we raise money from the church to fund an ark. And the ark gathers different animals, mating animals, and cows, goats, sheep, flocks of chickens, and they give them to villages and towns that need the food source and need to be self-sustaining. So they teach them how to farm, they teach them how to care for the animals. But the incredible part about heifer is that everybody who receives the gift from the ark is required to pay it forward by giving the offspring of one of those animals to another village and to another group. So it truly is a gift that keeps giving. We talk about passing on the gift.
And it really, I happen to know, having been a member since I was a child, I have actually a photo of me with a heifer. It's probably about 10 years old. So
I love that.
It's been going on for decades.
Yes, 50 years. Our church every year has donated an ark. So an ark is $5,000. So we work every year to raise that, to send to Heifer International. It used to be that they raised the animals here in New England, and then they would ship the animals over. Well, that got cost prohibitive. So now they take the money that we raise and they get animals over wherever they are and give it to the community.
And what part of the world is?
It's in Rosalie would kill me for not knowing this off the top of my head, but I want to say we're in like 50 different countries, including the United States. Like, say, there's a lot in the United States and South America. I think people mistakenly think all this money is raised and sent abroad, but it really is in a lot of places.
And lots of times we're not aware, even right here in the United States, the kind of needs that
Oh, yeah.
people have.
Oh, 100%. I was in 4-H as a kid, and we helped a family that the guy lost his job, and his house was in bad repair, didn't have food. So we all chipped in. We went and fixed up his house. We got him food. We helped him get a job. Those things are around us every day, but we don't necessarily see them or take the time to see it.
So this missions committee on which you've been participating, so they're involved as somewhat related to the Social Action Committee, but also Heifer and the Monday Meals.
Yes, Monday meals. Monday meals and Heifer are probably our two biggest things, but we give to a lot of different organizations, and we help with the Omoti Clinic in Tanzania. We help with a St. Roch Haiti in Haiti, and then we get requests from different people from the church for different things, different years, and then we evaluate that and see what we have funds for and what we can support.
And are you connected to any other larger group with the meals? At the past, there were other venues for meals for homeless people?
I think there are 5 different churches that run different meals at different days and times. The food pantries in Plymouth are huge, and one thing our missions committee does is we run food drives from time to time, and then we help try to supply those pantries. And the same thing, you think there's a food pantry and people can go get food, right? You don't realize that sometimes those pantries get very depleted. And one time we took, I think this was in COVID, and we took food to the American Legion, and the woman cried. She goes, "We're almost out of food. We need every single thing you brought." And that's something that people can do when we have our food drives. You can just drive through the circle when we're having it, drop a bag of groceries off, and help people in need.
Now, when you say the American Legion, were they collecting?
Yes. So we send it to Christ Church. We send to Second Church of Plymouth. We the American Legion, Salvation Army. So I think there's 5 different places we supply. And we also go to the Greater Food Warehouse over on Overy Street. And sometimes we go and help unload a pallet or do whatever. And then, they send those supplies where they're needed.
And from where does the food come to some of these places, like the food pantry or the place on Overy Street?
The place on Overy Street gets, I think, their major shipment from Boston.
Okay.
But then, we can take stuff there too.
Right.
So, one time we went with 2 carfuls, and one time we went with 4 carfuls. So it depends how much we collect, how much we can obviously take.
And I think the facility in Overy Street is part of South Shore Community Action Council.
Yes.
Which is a nonprofit organization also.
Correct.
Serving people. So you mentioned that the family you adopted to help because husband was detained. Now he's been released. So what's happening with the family now?
So from what I understand, they have legal fees from getting him released to the tune of $5,000. So we're trying to support him till he gets his first paycheck again, and then try to gather some funds to help him pay those legal fees.
Okay. And does your group have any future plans as to what they may do after they've been helping this adopted family?
Well, so right now the money we have been collecting from our individuals has gone directly to their rent. So the rent, I think, was $1,450, and so we collect the money and give to the Peace Abbey. The Peace Abbey then pays the landlord directly for her rent. So I don't know if other people are helping her with utilities and such, but basically we were trying to make sure that she did not become homeless with 2.5 children during this time, right? So that was our goal, is to keep them safe and housed.
And when you mentioned the Monday meals at the Church of the Pilgrimage, who could go to that?
Anyone can come to that. Anyone can come to that. They just show up on Monday, and
they don't need to sign up.
No,
they don't need to call.
They just show up. There's a ramp that goes into the side of the church, and that's where they enter. And they hang out. We give them a hot meal in the morning, and then they hang out, and then they get a bag with a sack lunch to go and water to go. And it's a community of people that has grown. When I first started with working with the missions committee, I think Monday meals had 15 or 18 people. Now we may be up to 40 or 50 on certain Mondays. So, and again, a lot of them are unhomed, but some of them just don't have money for food.
Right. You said the scarcity of it.
Yes.
Yeah. But they don't have to sign up.
They don't have to sign up to
What are the
show.
hours?
So they, I think 9:30 or 10 they come in, but we don't do it over the summer. So we finished up like by Memorial Day, and then we'll start up again in the fall.
And the need must really be there as the weather gets colder.
Correct. And we also do, just like they have coat drives and things in Boston, we collect coats and stuff in the winter for them. So they come and we have just a rack full of coats. They can pick one out. They find one they like and fits. They're good.
Now, going back to the Heifer International, you've had a young woman come in the past to speak.
Yes.
To your group. Tell us about her.
Okay, so Beatrice was a receiver of a goat, I believe, from Heifer, and then she worked for Heifer. So she was a promoter and went around the country talking about...
And where was Beatrice from?
Africa, but I don't know exactly where.
Okay.
But anyway, she is wonderful, and she's been a great spokesperson for Heifer. And it's one of those things that if Heifer has touched you and is dear to your heart, you try to give back. And she is now working in a job that she cares for a lot of elderly people over the weekend. So she's not as free to come and speak as she has been, but she came last year, and the people of the church that knew her and knew her back when Rosalie introduced Beatrice, obviously were incredibly great to see her and her son.
And you mentioned Rosalie Sin as the founder,
Yes.
and she's probably in her 90s at this point.
Yes.
And
Early 90s, but going strong.
we still see her from time to time. But what's the future of Heifer?
I think the future of Heifer is bright. I mean, I think they don't have the regional offices that Rosalie has told me about that they used to have, but all the money that's raised and filters in there can be dispersed all over. So I think the future is bright. And as long as we can keep raising the money for the Ark and sending animals around, it will continue to grow.
What about the Monday meals? Do you think they're going to continue in the fall?
Oh yeah. There's a huge need, and we're actually looking for some people to help with that. So you don't have to be a member of the church to help with that too.
Okay.
So we have some people on our teams. In fact, there's a lady who she was assistant AD or AD at Harvard when my husband was at Brown. She comes and she helps one meeting. Somebody else comes another Monday. So you don't have to be a church member to help. You don't have to. We have one lady who bakes us cookies to put in all the bags. Every week brings us cookies for the Monday meals bag. So you can definitely help out in any way you want.
The Social Action Committee, does that have a future once you finish with the adoption of this one family that you've told us about? Do you think that's going to continue?
I think the Social Action Committee is crucial at this time in 2026. So yes, I think it will continue.
And the Peace Abbey has been around now for many years.
Yes, the Peace Abbey is amazing. What he has done is truly amazing. I don't know everywhere he has touched people's lives, but he has in, so many areas, a variety of ways and variety of venues. So the Peace Abbey used to be an actual place, and people go there. The place is not there anymore, but the intent and the spirit and the help lives on through Lewis.
Candy, what motivated you to become involved in these activities?
Well, when I first moved to Plymouth, I was searching for a church, and I went to 3 or 4 different churches, but I didn't feel like any of them were doing as much as I would maybe want to do. So I came to Church of the Pilgrimage, and they were having the Monday meals, and I helped with the food pantry at Second Church a little bit. So I knew that there were good, caring people in Plymouth. It's just where I was going to find my niche. And I felt it was an active congregation and growing and had potential to really do good things. So then I approached Richard Rinker about joining the missions committee. And he said, we just don't meet and hand out checks. I mean, you have to do some work here. There's some work involved. I'm like, that's cool. I'm fine with work. So then all of a sudden they go, okay, so you have Heifer. I'm like, okay.
That's good, though.
Yes.
It's good they do more than just hand out checks.
Absolutely. And we also support a scout troop, which we didn't really know about till recently.
Okay.
But we have a scout troop that we
Troop
support.
1620?
I
think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. So when you're not volunteering in some of these groups or being a realtor, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I love pickleball.
Okay.
I love outdoor activities. The beach, travel. I like photography. I like spending time with my kids, but they're spread out, so that doesn't happen as often as I'd like.
Where are they?
So I have one outside of Worcester.
Okay.
Our daughter is in Boston. My son is in Philadelphia, and our other daughter is in Delray Beach.
Oh, okay.
So we're sort of
You get
spread
to
out.
travel, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. I have 6 grandkids, and 5 of them are fairly close. 3 in New York City, but my son has one in Philadelphia, so that's sort of the far one.
Yeah, wonderful. So if somebody just joined us, we've been doing this now for 26 minutes, and if they didn't hear all that you had to say, what would be the one takeaway you'd want people to know about today?
My mother had a famous sign. Well, she did a sampler for our kitchen. It says, "I shall pass this way but once. Therefore, any good that I can do or any kindness I can show, let me do it now, for I will not pass this way again." So my advice would be, do one thing, do one good deed. And it can be as silly as carrying somebody's groceries up to the house or holding their door open for them, something that people don't normally take the time to do. I held the door for a guy the other day at the Dollar Tree, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm on the door for you." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "Because you're coming in and I'm already here." And he was like, "Thank you." I mean, it's a silly thing, right? Mm-hmm. And the other thing is I like to use people's names, right? If someone's checking out, this lady checks me out all the time. I use her name. And she's like, "You're the only person who calls me by name." Why? She's wearing a name tag.
Right.
You know her name.
Sure.
Right? Little things.
It is the little things. Well, Candis Parry, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing more in the future.
Thank you much. All right.
And this completes this portion of today's presentation, but stay tuned. We're going to be joined by the new chair of the Select Board, being brought to us again by the local scene. We have Melissa Matinzi here. We have, I think I saw Ben Alexander and Tom Bolus. They're all working in the studio to provide the technical support that I certainly couldn't do. And this presentation would not happen without all of their assistance. So thank you to all of them and to everybody at the local scene. Please stay tuned, and we'll be back in a moment. I'd like to welcome you all back to this presentation of Plymouth Profiles. And for this segment, we're joined by the newly elected chair of the Plymouth Select Board, Deb Iaquinto. Deb, welcome.
Hello, Steve. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, Deb, for people that may not have met you before or heard you, give us a little bit of your background. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school?
So I'm a North Shore girl, transplant to Plymouth. I grew up in Everett, and I raised my family in Burlington, Massachusetts. Okay. And then my husband and I migrated down here to Plymouth. We originally purchased our home as a vacation home that we would eventually retire to. And that's retirement came a little bit earlier than we thought. So we've been in Plymouth for probably about 12, 13 years now. Okay. Yeah, so that's how I came to be here, and never looked back.
Yeah. So, and where'd you go to school?
Let's see, I went to, most recently I did a master's in education at Bridgewater State College. I also have a master's in communication from Simmons College, and I did my undergraduate work in Connecticut at the University of New Haven.
Oh, good. Is that music? That's Hart, the school that does the music.
No, this was nowhere near music. You don't want me doing anything musical.
So after school, when you graduated, what did you do for work, if any?
So I was a communications major and always wanted to write for a living. So I was able to become a copywriter and worked in a number of different fields. I was in the financial service field. I worked for Fidelity Investments for a while. People who are old enough to remember New England Life. I worked for New England Life for a little bit. And then I I did the bulk of my career I spent at a consulting firm called, at the time it was called Parry. So we did a lot of consulting to major employers around people issues, human resource issues. We did a lot of, I was in the communication and change management practice there. I eventually became a partner in the firm, leading practices and project teams. I was there for over 25 years. And then our company was acquired and they wanted all the partners to quietly leave. So that's what when I said our retirement came a little earlier than expected, that's when it came.
Sure. And so since that time, have you been working at all?
Yes, so I did go back to school to become a teacher. And I taught English as a second language for about 7 years. I taught in Plymouth, I taught in Hanover, and then I segued into a Title I reading tutor at Kingston Elementary School. And I gave that up when I was elected to the select board because the timing and the lack of flexibility was unfortunately something I couldn't balance. But I do substitute teach there every Friday when they'll have me.
Good.
So I need to keep my hand in. Those little kids help me keep the rest of all of this in perspective.
That's my alma mater, KES.
Oh, wow. I love that little school.
Yeah, it's a great place. So going then to your change, because when you were elected to the select board, how did that change things for you?
Wow. Well, first of all, I was so honored to win the seat. I had never run for public office at that level before. And so it was to me, it was just a huge honor to be acknowledged by the community as someone that they would want to see in that position. And I take that very seriously. I feel like I report to 70,000 people on a daily basis. And that's great. I love it. But the opportunity to meet with so many different people who represent different perspectives and different important initiatives around town was something that I just am so grateful to be able to do that. So I wanted the flexibility during my day to be able to take those meetings and to go to those events and to just be fully immersed in everything that was available to you when you become an elected official in this town.
What motivated you to run?
Well, so I had been involved in a couple of initiatives through the Open Space Committee. I joined the Open Space Committee. I was on that for about 3 years, and also Sustainable Plymouth. So I was very interested in environmental issues. And through the Open Space Committee, I got involved in a few articles that went before town meeting. And I thought the process was fascinating. I loved going to the caucuses. I loved meeting the town meeting members. I loved being at town meeting. And I thought, I wonder if there's something else I can do. I'd love to I feel like I have a lot of resources and experiences that I might be able to contribute, especially around change management. There's so much, the town is evolving so quickly that maybe there's somewhere I can help. Sure. So someone suggested to me that I might consider running for a select board, and I thought they were out of their mind. But I slept on it for a couple of days, and I thought, why not? What's the worst that can happen?
You could lose.
Well, the worst that could happen is that I could lose, but I would still get to meet a ton of new people
on the way.
And the best thing that could happen would be that I'd meet a ton of new people and I'd win. So luckily, the latter happened, and here I am.
So the first year on the select board, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, I felt like a fish out of water. It took me a few weeks to even get used to. There's a little bit more pomp and circumstance than I'm used to. I'm used to facilitating executive meetings and all of that through my consulting career. But just the whole, the open meeting law, just all of the processes and rules and regulations that go along with running a meeting was something I had to get used to. I couldn't understand why I couldn't just email all of my colleagues to ask them a question.
Can't do it.
I couldn't understand why we couldn't just meet informally to chit-chat about things.
And that's the open meeting law for people that are watching.
Exactly. But now, a year into it, I can appreciate the need for that kind of process and procedure to protect. It actually promotes more transparency than you would think. Yeah. And it seems counterintuitive to think of that, like limiting who you can speak to and when. But that actually does help support
Because you're doing it right out there in the open, in public.
Exactly. Everything is out in the open.
So in your first year, tell us about something that maybe concerned you or didn't go well. Can you think of anything?
Well, one of my very first initiatives was I tried to initiate an e-bike bylaw. A number of residents had been complaining and concerned about e-bikes on the bike trails. There were accidents, near misses. I think we heard about some well-publicized incidents of young people who were very seriously injured on e-bikes. So we worked through the process. We developed the e-bike bylaw proposal, working with legal counsel. We had so much community input to that process. We held a public hearing. We made modifications. I met with some of the bike owners in town. I rode e-bikes just to get the feel of it and see what all the hype was about. They're really fun, but they're a little scary too. So not for the faint of heart, in my opinion. And I'm a cyclist. That's what I do for my my primary sport, if you will. So that's why this was so important to me too, because I do want to make sure that everyone has access to being able to cycle who wants it. So after all of that community input, we still were not able to get that passed because people felt like we were taking the rights away from people who needed e-bikes in order to be who had mobility issues and concerns like that. So I was disappointed. But we figured out other ways to approach the issue. So, that's, okay, that didn't work. People don't want a bylaw, but we can certainly do more education. We can get some signage in place. We can stay closer to what the state is proposing for e-mobility bylaws. And they actually they have a really good, robust new set of regulations that they're currently working through the system. And hopefully when those become law in the state, we'll adopt them here in Plymouth. So.
Good. Now, what's something that you're very pleased or happy about that happened in the first year?
Let me think about that for a minute. There was a lot. I mean, it was a difficult year on the select board. I think there was a lot of friction between certain board members. I think that's been very well documented and publicized. We had an issue and we didn't have the strongest of reputations. But I feel good about the fact that I was able to maintain positive relationships with every one of the board members, and I attribute that to, again, the experience I had in consulting, where you had to. Right. You had to get along, but you also had to find if you look for the positive in every relationship, you can certainly find it. So I came out of that experience. It doesn't sound like it was a positive experience, in describing the friction between people who should be able to work more closely together. But when I came out of it realizing that I had still 5 very good, solid relationships, that to me was a win.
So we're taping this in June of 2026, and in May, last month after the election, there was a reorganization for the select board. So what happened?
So what happened in the reorganization is that's our opportunity every year to elect a new chair and a new vice chair, should we choose. So this year, and it is, as you said, it's right after the election, so oftentimes there'll be new people on the board, so it really changes the dynamics completely. This year, we had the 2 incumbents who ran for re-election were re-elected. So it was the gang of 5 all back together again. And I think we all recognized that we needed to send a message to the community that we could work in a more unified way, and that we were a functional, productive, forward-looking board. So I was approached to consider taking on the role of chair, and asked if I was nominated, would I accept that nomination. To me, it came out of left field because I wasn't expecting that. I'd only been on the board for 1 year. But the more I thought about it and the more people I reached out to, and He gave me good counsel. I realized that perhaps, given just the dynamics on the board, it made the most sense for me to step into that role, if, assuming the other board members agreed. It felt like, because I was able to maintain stronger relationships throughout that year, that I was the right person at the time. I might not be the right person next year. Maybe I certainly wasn't the right person last year. But for this year, for right now, I think it makes a lot of sense. And so Mr. Quintel and Mr. Quintel is the vice chair, I'm the chair, and we're moving forward.
So, as I said, we're taping this in June of 2026. You got 1 month under your belt. How do you feel?
I feel really positive. I feel exhausted. It's a lot more work when you're in the chair role. There are a lot more demands on your time, and I'm happy to give as much time as I have to this. Believe me. But it's still, I always believed in my role as a partner in this consulting firm. When I was managing a team, whether they were my employees or just a project team, the buck stops here with the whoever is in charge. And that's how I approach this too, that I'm not deflecting responsibility. I'm accepting responsibility, not only for my own decisions, but for for board decisions. So working in front of 70,000 people every week doing that has been a real eye-opening experience. But I feel like I'm learning every week and just hopefully improving as I go along.
And the board is fairly diverse in many ways, and even in terms of age and experience. We talked about that before. As someone who's a parent and a grandparent, I find myself often older than some of the people with whom I'm working. And how do you find that?
Well, I find it is fascinating, because a couple of the members could be my children. They're not much older than my own. And it was funny, when I was elected chair, I got a lot of comments from people saying, "Oh, the boys need a mother." And my first thought was, I'm done mothering. Like, I am not mothering anymore.
Right.
So it's interesting. It sounds really strange, but I just consider them all peers.
Right.
Because we are all in the same role, and that's a peer group is a role. It doesn't have to be generational. So that's how I view it, and I have respect for them. And they respect me too, I think, as a peer. I don't think they look at me as a mother, or I hope not. We're all in trouble if that's the case. But yeah, I think that's how it.
So what has changed now that you're the chair?
I've been told that the meetings seem a little bit more relaxed. We haven't had any squabbles.
Good.
I'm trying very hard to set the tone of being calm and consistent, but I'm still, at the same time, I'm not hesitating to try to rein in things when I feel like they're going a little bit off track, trying to make the meetings more efficient. I think we've become known as the board that has never-ending meetings, like marathons, and our goal is to get it to midnight one of these nights.
Wow. Yes.
We came close a couple of times. So I'm just trying to, and I think, there were a lot of reasons for that, but I think we could be more efficient. And that's what I'm trying to.
It's interesting when you mention squabbles, because I think we don't often remember that the electorate, when they see officials squabbling, so to speak, it's almost like they feel like, children that don't want to see their parents fighting. I mean,
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very disconcerting, and it just, it's not a good look.
No. So what's coming up in terms of the select board agenda, or things that you've got to look forward to addressing?
So there are three things that I'm very, very excited about. Tonight we're kicking off a two-part workshop on economic development.
Good.
And the goal there is to come up with a real action plan, like real measurable steps, things that we can do as a town and then taking that to our partner, the Plymouth Economic Development Foundation, see what can they help us with, where might we have some gaps, how do we fill those gaps going forward. So we're really trying to move the needle on that. We're also trying to move the needle on affordable housing. Nice. So we'll be having a conversation next week on what is our strategy to achieve that safe harbor 10% so that we don't have to worry about the threat of an unfriendly 40B coming in for many years to come. Right. So we'll be talking about that. And then, of course, the budget. And just creating more budget oversight. I think we have a really nice process lined up where we're going to begin that process a little bit earlier, bring a lot more transparency to it. So we'll have, unlike in past years, we will have every department head will come in to present its budget separately at a select board meeting. We've asked them to give us 3 scenarios. We've asked them to present a level funded budget, which means that they wouldn't get any more money than they have this year. We'd ask them to for a level service budget, which means same services, what would that cost? And then we've asked them to for a budget that would be 2% over what they had last year. Mm-hmm. So a 2% increase. So we could just see that. What does it look like? How much pain would it cause if we went to one of the more aggressive budgets than not? What could we really live with? Mm-hmm. So we're going to have those kinds of conversations, and anyone is welcome, obviously, to come to to our meeting at Town Hall or to view it on the local scene.
So people that are watching, when do you meet?
We meet every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep.
And where?
At the Great Hall at Town Hall on Court Street.
Unless you're traveling.
Unless we're traveling. We do our on the roads, but those are just for public comment. We don't do a lot of serious business
now,
there.
Can people watch if they can't go in person?
Absolutely. Yep. They can watch. Our local scene is our partner, and they can watch it on the local scene website, stream it on the YouTube channel, or watch it. It's recorded, so they can watch it the following days or whenever they have a moment to do that. All of that information is on our agendas. So,
where can they see an agenda?
They can see an agenda. Thank you for asking. Just go to the town website. I'm trying to think of the path how to get there. So you go to government, you go to meetings, meeting schedules, and then you'll see the select board meeting. You click on it. It's a lot of clicks. It's too many clicks to get to our agenda.
And so you meet every week. Mm-hmm. And then what if somebody wanted to contact the select board in between meetings? How would they do that?
Yeah, so you just you can just send us an email. It's they can find the email address again on the website, and that will go to all of the select board. Okay. The entire select board, plus the town manager will get a copy, and our executive assistant gets a copy of that too. If they want to reach us individually, my email is Iaquinto, my last name IAQUINTO, at Plymouth.mass, Plymouth-mass.gov, ma.gov. Yeah. Did I get that right?
ma.gov.
Yeah,
ma.gov.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right. So what's your view right now of Plymouth? I mean, do we have a good view, a not so good view, and what are you thinking?
I am so optimistic about the future of Plymouth. I think that we can really be a vibrant, thriving community. We do have to bring in more commercial tax base to help take the burden off of our residences. I think that is a priority, and that's one of the reasons we're doing these workshops, to try to get some sort of a plan to make that a reality. But I do think that Plymouth has so much to offer to different businesses. Like if we think about the kinds of businesses that might be attracted to a community like Plymouth, like blue economy businesses, healthcare, higher tech kinds of businesses, just to bring in some jobs that will pay higher wages. And that's one thing that we hear a lot from our residents, is that they can't afford to live here. There's no they can't because they need to. Their wages are not high enough for them to support the cost of living here in Plymouth. Our housing is very expensive. That's market driven. It's it's all over. It's not just specific to Plymouth. But I think that if we focus and put all of our energies into solving some of the affordability issues that we hear and bringing in new businesses, I think Plymouth is awesome.
So there was a lot of discussion this year at town meeting about the budget, and yet when I talk to people from other communities, I think right now Marshfield in particular is going through some very serious fiscal issues. So how does Plymouth compare, do you think, in terms of other communities in the Commonwealth?
I think, depending on who you talk to, some people believe that we're in better shape. I believe that we're in slightly better shape, but that doesn't mean that we become complacent. Every municipality is dealing with these budget issues because we're so dependent on residential taxes, and it's just impossible to keep putting that burden on people. We can't, it's just not sustainable. And we have so few tools in our toolbox, and we have so many expenses that are just mandated expenses. We have to pay, we have contracts, so we need to pay wages. We have utilities, we need to keep the lights on. All of those things take up such a significant portion of our budget before we even think about the other stuff, the discretionary stuff. And I think what people don't realize is that there's so little discretionary budget left over. I mean, that's really what we're talking about when we talk about managing the budget. It's either that or cutting jobs, which is not something that we want to do. But yeah, I think if we bring the discipline to it now and try to get out ahead of the fiscal cliff is the term that we keep hearing, before we go over the fiscal cliff. If we could try to get some strategies in place to help us avoid that. That's the goal.
How's your board's relationship with other elected boards in the town?
I think we have a good relationship. I think it could be better. We have a very good relationship with the school committee. I think one of the goals that I have is to have more joint meetings with boards like the planning board, where we share a lot of common goals. So I'd like to, I think we're going to be talking to Mr. Bulletin about how we implement that going forward. But I think, I don't think we have any adverse relationships with any.
What about the legislative delegation? Any contact with them?
Oh, our town meeting members.
No, the legislative delegation.
I'm sorry, the legislative.
I should have said the state legislative.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, our state delegation. Yes, we meet with them all the time, and I see them, especially the Michelle and Kathy Lenatra, our representatives who are at every event that Plymouth holds. So we have plenty of opportunity to connect on different issues that are important.
Yeah. And what about staff? Is there a good relationship right now with the select board and staff?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, we have got the best staff ever.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we are so blessed with the experience that they bring to this town, and just the commitment that they show to their day-to-day work. I'm just in awe of everyone that we have.
So we've been doing this now for almost 26 minutes, and got a couple minutes left. If somebody just joined us, what would be a takeaway that you'd want them to know about from this presentation?
I'd want them to know that we have a select board that is very much focused on making the best decisions for Plymouth. And they're not always going to be decisions that everybody likes, but they're going to be measured decisions. They're going to be thoughtful decisions, and we will always communicate and be completely transparent about what our goals are, what options we considered, why we selected the option that we did, and how it's going to impact the community. And also, I would want them to know that we need them to be as involved as they possibly can be. We need every voice that we can as we navigate the next 5 years.
So when you're not substitute teaching or doing town work as a select board member and chair, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I am on a bike almost every day.
Okay.
Mostly my Peloton, to be honest, but I do get outside as much as I can as well. I really enjoy working out. It keeps me sane, focused.
And as we sit here again at the beginning of your tenure as chair, having just had 1 month, How do you see the next 11 months? What do you think?
I think I'm gonna look back on the this year and just hopefully say, wow, we accomplished so much. Look what we can do when we all 5 of us work together and collaborate effectively with our partners across the town in order to focus on the goals that everybody says are important to Plymouth: economic development, affordable housing, financial discipline, conservation. All of those things are so important, and if we all work towards that goal instead of at odds with each other. So that's my commitment, and that's what I'm going to be trying to work on this year.
Okay. Well, delighted to have you, and as not only my role here as the host of the show, but as the town moderator with the legislative branch, I've appreciated the opportunity to be able to work with you and get together with you, and I'm optimistic as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This concludes this presentation of Plymouth Profiles. We're delighted to have had Deb Iaquinto, the current chair of the Select Board, and please join us for future presentations. You can also see us on YouTube, and we look forward to having you return with us when we visit with other people from the greater Plymouth community. I'm Steve Triffletti. Thank you and good day.